Welcome to the Fantasy Happy Hour. Fantasy Happy Hour. Presented by Sportsneak. With your hosts, Justin Sauce and Terry Licious. Starting in 3, 2, 1.
Boom. Here we go. Fantasy Happy Hour, episode 67. This is going to be our first exciting Thursday one in quite a few weeks. We've had some lulls in the Thursday department here with a few boring games, a few that we thought would probably be a little bit higher scoring than they were. But for this one, the sports books have this one being, I think, the highest scoring game of the week, with the exception, I think, of the Monday nighter as well. I think Monday and Thursday are both supposed to be very high scoring. They atop both of the over-unders here. So we got the Green Bay Packers and the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, I think, remain the only undefeated team. Is that correct?
Yeah.
They're coming off a big dub versus the Houston Texans, where Houston managed to get a safety and a field goal, and that's about it. So we got Watkins, JJ Watt, DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. Them going up here against some Aaron Jones and some Lazardos here in Green Bay, the Cheeseheads. So enough with me doing that stuff that I thought would be funny. Karen, take us into some Thursday night action here. What do you got?
Oh, good total on this one, 53. Like you said, the only bigger game is the Monday nighter. The Cardinals here are 3.5-point favorites. Of course, these are two of probably the best teams in the league right now. The Packers lost their opener to the Saints there, and then they've went 6 straight. And then the Cardinals haven't lost. And big news to lead off this and to kind of put a little damper on the game is Davante Adams went into COVID protocol here on Monday. Sounds like he probably won't be out because he needs two negative tests within 24 hours of each other. So he needs to test, I think, negative tomorrow and then negative like Thursday morning to be cleared to play. So I'm thinking it's unlikely, but hopefully he can maybe make it back. It'll make this game a lot more exciting. Chandler Jones is back for Arizona. He had 5 sacks, I think, in their opening game, and then he got hurt, I think, in week 3. So one of their best defensive rushers. And then I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling is eligible to come back off IR. So that's kind of all the news that I thought from the injury side. This is probably the 1-2 punch of best receivers in the league. If, of course, Davante's playing. But that's where I kind of looked at this game. This is a high-octane offense game. But the Cardinals' D is one of the lone defenses in the league, averaging more than 10 points a game for DFS. So, I think they're in it. And if Adams is out, you got a bunch of unreliable receivers on the kind of Green Bay side. Adams is that trusty for Rodgers if he needs the first down, whereas the rest are kind of Marquez Valdes-Scantling's known for his drops, but maybe getting the odd deep ball. And then Arizona spreads their offense out. Like even Hopkins being such a good receiver, not been that great for fantasy. Like he's averaging, I think, 15 DK points, but he hasn't had any games like in that kind of explosion type game. So I think everybody's going to be on the offenses. So where I started by building a lineup was I like going to Green Bay now that I think Adams is out, going to Aaron Jones at captain. I think he's their lone weapon that is going to just get a pile of work. We saw that in week 2 when Adams didn't get a lot of work. Aaron Jones went for 43 DK points. He was really used in the passing game. And last week he didn't, touch the ball a ton, I think 9 times.
Both the running backs are coming off of like 8 fantasy point weeks here. So
yeah. And I think that's good for, DFS to kind of target Aaron Jones again. I think this is a game they'll have to lean on him. They do that on occasion. And I think because they kind of locked up a win there last week, they started riding other players. You saw a lot more to Lazard and Tunyon and all those other guys. So I think they were saving Aaron Jones for this matchup because this is, of course, a much more difficult matchup. And we saw that a few weeks ago where the teams are saving their kind of their better players on these kind of shorter weeks. So I think Aaron Jones, great spot to kind of go in and explode. In Arizona, it seems like you can attack them on the ground with the quarterback and or the a running back. So I kind of like that play. And then kind of when I built this lineup, I had Adams in here initially, so now I had to transition away from Adams. So I went to Hopkins. I think I need to see that explosion game and, prime time game here Thursday night. I think he's going to go off a little bit, get into that 20 to 25 point range. Kyler Murray, great spot for him. Green Bay here last week, I think gave up 95 rush yards to Taylor Heineke. So, great. Kyler's a great running kind of quarterback, but he hasn't been running much, I guess, this season because he hasn't had to. So this might be the spot to see him rush a bit more. Then I kind of had to blend out the lineup here. I like the Cardinals D this week. Like I mentioned, the only D that averages more than 10 fantasy points a game, and just a really good D overall. Sacks with Chandler Jones back too. I think this is a great spot. Bakhtiari's still out on that offensive line, and that offensive line has looked a little shaky against good pass rushers. So I think this is a good spot for Cardinals D. And then I like Chase Edmonds out of the running back pool. He's like the between the 20s guy, the passing down back, but he hasn't got a TD yet this season. I like guys that haven't got a TD because people won't love that. James Conner gets all the goal line work, but I think this is a defense you can run and run long on. So Chase Edmonds is usually the guy who will bust your 30, 40 yarder, but Connor will get everything inside the 10, 15. So hopefully he can bust a big one or get a pass from Murray. That's great in this lineup. And then I actually put Marquez Valdes-Scantling, talked about him earlier. I think that's a good spot. He's got I think he's still got the IR tag or the out tag. I expect him to be kind of put back into the roster maybe midweek, but just watch that news. There is other guys you can go to in the low price range, but he's kind of he's priced where it almost feels too expensive to play him, but that might lead people off of him. I think he's 3,800. So that lineup ends up, I think, just $100 short of using the cap. So that was kind of my lean, and that was all off the Devontae Adams news. If Devontae Adams is clear, I think you lock in Jones and Adams or just Adams. I think he's the best play in this game. Kickers, I put maybe here. I'm not usually big at researching kickers, but in a game where I expect more touchdowns, I'm not as big of a fan of the kickers. And of course, the defense, I actually see this. This could be a good defense game to go contrarian, but I think it's got to be Arizona's D. I don't see Green Bay putting up enough in that regard. Other options, there's a plethora on each side. I wrote them at the bottom. There's Lazard, Tanya, and Mercedes Lewis, if you really want to get weird. Randall Cobb, Ertz, Hopkins, Kirk, Moore, Rondale Moore kind of busts out. So there's a ton of guys. We saw Ertz come over in that trade and have a huge game. So, but like I said, I'm leaning on Arizona kind of winning this game, but Aaron Jones getting all the work. So what do you got for input here, Justy?
Oh, yeah, we're coming off a hot week of tight ends and a quiet week of running backs. So we'll see if that skews the pricing a little bit in terms of how it fits into your lineups here. But I'm a fan of the double tight end play this week, Ertz and Tanyan. I think with, that Adams news, and if he doesn't play, you're going to see the increase in the Aaron Jones and Hopkins and other things you had mentioned there. But I'm going all in on tight end city, baby.
Bobby Tanyan.
Call this one the Jordan Akins.
Yeah, that is true.
But no, you covered everything. Did you have anything else to add into this one, or?
No, I think the best receiving option, if you're going to go more receiving heavy on Green Bay, is all I'd mention is I think it's Lazard. It's probably the best play there. He came back there last week. I think he was 6 for 60 and a touchdown or something. So out of the receiving weapons, he's probably the most favorable if Adams is out. But again, that'll be popular. He's in a good price range. So outside of that, you just got to play your script and run with it.
Do you have any defensive options into this showdown slate with any of your contrarian lineups here?
I like Arizona's D. I would put that in a lot of lineups. But Green Bay could be a different way to go and maybe play at low scoring, but double defense usually never correlates well.
Yeah, so definitely not.
I think you got to pick.
I was just curious if you have any of just one of them into your.
I really like Arizona. I think with Chandler Jones back, the O-line for Green Bay hasn't been great. I think they have a chance. And I think I wrote, that might be for the Monday nighter, but Green Bay does give up a few sacks here through, and their defense on the Arizona side has been really, really good. So there's a chance for a couple fumbles, a pick, maybe. So
awesome. Well, thanks for the input, Taryn. That's a that'll do it for episode 67 Fantasy Happy Hour Week 8 Thursday showdown between the Green Bay Packers and the Arizona Cardinals. Should be a fun one. And we'll see you guys in the next one, the Monday night showdown. We're going to try to get on top of it a little bit more, aka me. But like and subscribe. It would really help us out. Leave us a comment if you like any of the picks here or what you're going with, how you see this game going. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.